yet was still successful while we were physically distancing, but socially striving to connect. We've also been asked by members to have us join the Kalamazoo Climate Crisis Coalition as a church. This consideration has been tabled until such time as we can come together again and discuss in detail. And back to our mission, to be a beloved community, embracing and serving our diverse world. Our perception of the world changed forever when the coronavirus pandemic began sweeping through the United States. Our governor, Gretchen Whitmer, issued a stay home, stay safe order for Michigan in March of 2020. And so now we strive to socially and emotionally connect while being physically distant. We continue to learn new software, applications, technical issues, and collaborative efforts to achieve such goals. We changed our annual meeting to an online platform, and we limited to 2 the number of voting items so we can honor the spirit and intention of democracy and continue to keep people safe. We formally recommend that the congregation continue our current church budget on a month-to-month basis until it is safe to gather again for a formal annual meeting. In order to embrace and serve the diverse voices in our community, we must have an open forum to debate and explore the budget and the future direction of the church. We believe it is fiscally prudent to extend the current budget on a monthly basis while we navigate the external health and financial environment and our own internal emotional landscapes. We are adapting to the constraints that the COVID pandemic continues to place upon us. Culture is forged in the fire of crisis, and we can shape it because we are people of hope, people of love, and people of change. We are not daunted by uncertainty because we know deep down that uncertainty and change is truth. It is. And we are willing to do uncomfortable things and stay hopeful. Hope is a psychological construct. We have to be able to visualize a future or a goal. We have to see a path forward, and we have to have some agency, some ability to take steps on that path, even if we can't see the entire way. So I ask people with a heart full of hope, how do we live into our mission in the era of COVID? And I look forward to walking this path with you. Blessings to all. Thank you.
So there is a long minister's report that you will all receive with the documents and the reports that go out, and it's 4 pages, and I'm not going to read that to you right now. I trust you'll read it if you want to. But I just want to say how grateful I am to all of you. I mean, there's 97 devices and a bunch more people who have figured out how to do Zoom and who show up on Sunday mornings for our youth and for our democracy. We all have learned so many things in the past 2 months, from Zoom to how to apply for and administer a payroll protection program loan. Thank you, Alan. We'll just keep saying thank you, Alan, as a response. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Barb, over and over and over again. We have shown up for each other in new ways, with an almost daily story time, with chalice circles that are meeting in new formats, with all of these new attempts to be connected, with phone calls, with postcards. It's beautiful. So I know we sing that we're people of change, but I don't think any of us really wanted to be people of this much change. But we're adapting, and it is beautiful to get to witness you all take care of yourselves and take care of each other, and approach the work of the church and the living in this world with so much flexibility and grace and compassion. This is the work. These are the moments that all of our spiritual practices and grounding and learning have prepared us for, because this is when we need it. So Thank you for living our values even now, when it is scary and uncertain. People are starting to ask when we will be together again. And the most honest answer I can give you is I have no idea. And I hate that because I really love to plan. I have elaborate spreadsheets for basically everything in my life. And I don't get to have an elaborate spreadsheet for this. Just this past week, the UUA issued guidance that churches should not gather in large groups, so not Sunday morning, until May of next year, which was a date I was not prepared for. And I am doing my own grieving around it. But I want to share that date with you, not because our leadership has made that decision yet, but just to give you a sense of we are in this for a long time. This is not, I mean, we closed down for 2 weeks when we started, and it's indefinite. But this is what we do because these are our values. We keep each other safe. We trust the teachings of science. We care for those who are most vulnerable among us. And it's hard. I wish I was not talking to you from my attic today. I wish we were in the same place, but I know that it is more important to keep each other safe. So thank you for being the people that you are, who are flexible and creative and committed, and who are making a path through this very uncertain time. I am really grateful to all of you. And that's the oral report. You can read the written report later.
Thank you so much, Reverend Rachel. I'd like to ask Deb Wickman now to share the slate of candidates for the Board of Trustees and Nominating Committee.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am proud and happy to represent the Nominating Committee. We worked hard this year and we are very excited about our slate of candidates. I just want to acknowledge the other folks on the committee. And our committee consisted of Sonia Dean, Joe Hempel, Gary Ledley, Roger Leffler, Dom Miller, Tim Sparling, and myself. So we followed all the procedures that are laid out in the bylaws and the Constitution. Our slate was posted with the bios in the April newsletter. And luckily, all our work was done before the pandemic started, or at least before we were shut down. So that was I'm happy for that. So I will name the names, and I'm going to read the bios of everyone that were submitted. They are also, as I said, in the April newsletter, so you can find it on the website also. All right, our slate, or our nominees for the board, are Daniel Baer, Donna Mcclurkin, and Marty Peters Sparling, and I will read the bios. Daniel Baer is a stay-at-home dad. He serves on the board of directors of the People's Food Co-op in Kalamazoo. Most recently, worked 4 years at WMU coordinating permaculture projects at the Office for Sustainability. Before that, he started and ran an educational farm for 5 years at St. Joseph Mercy Hospital in Ypsilanti. He holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Michigan and a certificate in organic farming from Michigan State University. In his free time, he enjoys gardening in his neighborhood and dreaming of a world without cars. So, Dan Baer. Our next candidate is Donna Mcclurkin. She experienced Unitarian Universalism as a youth in a church just outside of Detroit. While her family didn't attend regularly, she remembers that being one of the few places it felt okay to be unsure about religion. Donna's family joined UUCC shortly after moving to Kalamazoo in 2002 and attended while her daughter Anna was in elementary school. She was compelled to start attending People's Church shortly after hearing Reverend Rachel officiate at a memorial service and joined in October of 2017. She finds the opening words of our bond of union especially resonant. earnestly desiring to develop in ourselves and in the world honest, reverent thought, faithfulness to our highest conception of right living, the spirit of love and service to all people. It's that spirit of love and service with others and activities such as pasty making, volunteering during the bazaar, the anti-racism discussion group, sharing in the annual poetry service and in Chalice Circle, which Donna finds enriching. She looks forward to the possibility of serving in the work of the church's Board of Trustees. Her healthcare career spanned over 30 years, first as a registered nurse, then leading electronic health record implementations. While no longer defined by that work, she draws on it to inform her climate activism, local advocacy, and writing projects. Donna writes for Encore magazine and recently started a new series about our community's response to climate change in the online publication Southwest Michigan Company. And our third candidate, Marty Peter Sparling, has been a member of People's Church since 2013. She joined with her husband and 2 young boys, looking for a community where their spiritual journey would be supported and questions were welcome. Since joining, she has served on the RE committee as specialty class coordinator and currently serves on the Connections Membership Committee. Also acts as a mentor for the coming of age class, as we saw that great presentation today. She was born in Zeeland, Michigan, and grew up in the Reformed Church of America. Graduating with a BA from Central College in Pella, Iowa, she moved to Japan for 2.5 years to teach English as a missionary through the RCA, and then returning to Michigan, she attended Wayne State and received her medical degree in 2004. After working for Bronson Family Practice for 10 years, she has recently opened her own holistic family medicine practice called Southwest Michigan Health Matters. This practice has allowed her to pursue her professional interest of making healthcare more accessible and whole person oriented, as well as her personal interest in meditation and mindfulness. She's honored to be nominated for the Board of Trustees. So those 3, Dan Baer, Donna Mcclurkin, and Marty Peter Sparling are our candidates for the board. Now for the nominating committee, we have the 2 Patricks. I will start with Patrick Murray. Patrick grew up in Kalamazoo, graduated from MSU, and moved around Michigan for a few years until moving with his then wife to the Deep South and then to Chicago. 17 years after he left, he was delighted to find himself returning to Southwest Michigan. When not detangling trade compliance issues for his employer, Patrick likes to hike and fish and embrace adventures big and small. He loves music, both to listen to live and also to play. Patrick discovered People's Church in 2014 when looking to move back to Michigan and became a member not too long after moving back. He's taught an RE class and has been involved with the annual bazaar every year since he began attending People's Church. He's been known to help out with specialty classes on occasion and has begun to get involved with the AV function during services. He's looking forward to the opportunity to get further involved with People's Church via the nominating committee. Last but not least, Pat Van Slambrook. Pat and his wife, Colleen, started attending People's Church in 1990. They came to People's looking for an RE program for their sons, Ross and Mark, that supported their view of community and faith. Over the years, Pat has been involved with the bazaar, pasty making, selling coffee, and a Chalice Circle. Pat grew up in Monroe, Michigan as one of 8 kids. He came to Kalamazoo to attend WMU, where he met Colleen, who was also from Monroe. After a short stay in Marquette, they moved back to Kalamazoo in 1978, and they have been there ever since. Pat enjoys being outside in all of the seasons and considers nature important to his faith. He is an avid biker, cross-country skier, beekeeper, and on the board of the Kalamazoo Bee Club. Pat will be retiring this spring and is looking forward to having more time to pursue other interests and become more active in People's Church. So those are our candidates. I am excited to submit them.
Thank you so much, Deb. I'm going to share my screen one more time, simply for us to be able to see what the draft of the ballot might look like. and hand it over to Barb to explain what the ballot process will look like. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to read, you guys heard the election of the Board of Trustees candidates, you heard the Nominating Committee candidates. I'm going to read the recommended language for the other voting item, which is around the church budget, and then we'll open that up for conversation, and then Barb can talk through process. So in addition to Board of Trustees and Nominating Committee candidates, the other item of business reads, shall the church budget be continued on a month-to-month basis until it is safe to gather again for a formal annual meeting, with check boxes yes or no? So knowing that that is the slate of voting and conversation which needs to happen, we can open that up to dialogue among us all here. But I can't see who's waiting, so I'm going to defer that to Rachel and Chris.
Hello, everyone. I'm currently only looking at myself, so maybe I should put the gallery back. Ah, okay. It makes me feel more like I'm actually talking to people, even though I'm sitting here at my desk at home. The plan is, right now we're really in the part where if you want to say something about how we're going to do the budget, that's when you should raise your hand if you have a comment about that. I'm assuming since they sent it to me that the moderators, Rachel and Elizabeth, didn't see hands raised saying, I want to talk about the budget. So let me explain how and why we're doing the vote this way. As much as it's nice to be able to see people through Zoom, I can only see, actually I was going to say 9 people, but I actually get to see 12 because there are some doubles in here. But I'm not seeing everybody who's participating. And that's one of the requirements to have a meeting according to Robert's Rules of Order, is that everybody who's participating has a chance to see everybody else. And when we vote, you could see all the votes at one time. And since we can't do that, we have to choose an alternate method of voting. So what we are intending to do is that for those people who receive their newsletters in the mail, we will be sending out a written ballot with a postage, with a stamped return envelope. If you currently don't receive your newsletter that way and you would like a ballot, a paper ballot to mail out, send an email to office@peopleschurch.net, which is Chris Schluter's email, and we will mail out one to you. For those people who don't receive their newsletter through the mail, you'll receive an email, and the email we'll use will be the same one that you would receive your newsletter at. And so Chris will be sending those out at the latest Monday morning. So if you haven't found it by Monday, then you need to look in your junk folder or to see if it has been misdirected. And then again, let Chris know if you can't find it. Okay, and as it currently stands, the ballot will show as what Elizabeth has shown on the screen now twice. In the ballot, it says the bylaws do not allow write-in votes. That's because we have a nomination by petition process. And we've already gone through that starting in April or even before April, when we announced the candidates for both the Board of Trustees and the Nominating Committee, and people who wanted to have their names added could arrange to be nominated by petition. So we've already done all that. So that's why there aren't any write-in votes. Does anybody, I can't see people, so I have to depend upon Elizabeth and Rachel to tell me, does anyone have questions? Oh, the other thing I should say is what we're going for is a vote of the entire congregation. So instead of saying we have a quorum of X number and we need 50% of those people who are present and voting, instead we're going for a vote of the entire congregation. So we would like half of the people to respond. And of course, we would prefer to have everybody respond. Oh, the email ballot has a link to a Google Doc where you can check your check marks, and it'll go into a document on the web that we will then, it'll tabulate for us actually, and we'll be able to print out all the votes. And for the paper ballots, we'll be holding them, they'll come in the mail, and we'll hold them to open the envelopes until June 1st, which is the date that will actually end the voting. Okay, Julie says we have 2 people on our same email. We haven't quite resolved how to do this. I think that you will be able to vote each one separately. I mean, you will be able to vote technically twice, but we figure people are honest and people won't vote multiple times for themselves. That we think people will be able to handle that. Well, no, Tim, don't vote early and often. Only vote once. So, but if you share an email, I think I did the calculation, and it's like 12 couples that we have one email for each one of them. So I looked for how many duplicates there are. So if there's more than that, we might be coming back to you and saying, did you really mean to do this? But we've never done this before. And actually this is a thing that the bylaws task force is saying, what should we really have in our bylaws to deal with a situation like this? So when we finally get around to revising our bylaws next year, we'll be able to talk about what would be the best way to do this. So any more questions? I'm kind of watching the chat scroll up, and I didn't try to answer when people brought them up. Okay, I guess I will hand it back to Elizabeth.
This could be the shortest annual meeting ever, even navigating the painfully long pauses in technology and trying to cite line everybody. If there is no further business or questions or comments, if you guys don't know how to chat, it's down at the bottom, list of choices with a little word bubble there. If you don't know how to chat and you have something you want to say, it's okay to do this too. And if we don't see any of that, then I hand it to Reverend Rachel to close our meeting. And thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your patience and flexibility as we figure out this strange new thing. What a blessing it is to have a parliamentarian in the congregation. We have been loaning Barb out to other congregations who do not have parliamentarians, and she's sort of keeping Michigan UUs from violating their bylaws too terribly in this time. So I am deeply grateful for Barb and for all of you. So I'm going to close with a reading from our hymnal, one of the ones in the very back, which is a Beatitude for Church Members by Reverend John Burens. So he writes, "Blessed are those who yearn for deepening more than escape, who are not afraid to grow in spirit. Blessed are those who take seriously the bonds of community, who regularly join in celebration and learning, who come as much to minister as to be ministered to. Blessed are those who bring their children, who invite their friends to come along to join in fellowship, service, learning, and growth. Blessed are those who support the church and its work by their regular, sustained, and generous giving, and who give of themselves no less than their money. Blessed are those who know that the church is often imperfect, yet rather than harbor feelings of anger or disappointment, bring their concerns and needs to the attention of the church leaders. Blessed are those who, when asked to serve, do it gladly, who realize that change is brought about through human meeting, who do the work of committees and stay till the end. Blessed are those who speak their minds in meetings, who can take and give criticism, who keep alive their sense of humor. Blessed are those who know that the work of the church is the transformation of society, who have a vision of beloved community transcending the present, and who do not shrink from controversy, sacrifice, or change. Blessed are they indeed. So, thank you all for all that you're doing within the church and beyond in these really challenging times. And I think that's the end. Thank you, all of you. I am so grateful for your commitment to this community right now. Okay, I'm going to end the meeting, which always feels really abrupt and strange, but here it is.